Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks for your patience. A couple technical difficulties here and there. I know you guys are probably thinking, what is going on with Mike right now? Well, as Blake mentioned in yesterday's Harbor Live, I live in Dallas County. Things went, a little south. They made us do a shelter in place. So this is me trying to protect myself. This is my specially designed suit. Oh, hello. Looks like we lost a little signal. Hang on. Here we go. Specially designed suit to keep me safe. This is how I don't infect you guys. This is totally okay, doctor approved. Should be alright. It's not a big deal. We're gonna do a show like this. It'll be alright. Keep you guys safe. Like I said, Dallas County's kind of a hot zone right now. Shelter in place is right. Hence why we have the new studio. Obviously, I'm not at the church. I am in the spare bedroom at my house. Hold on, wait. Just got a text. Well then, Apparently, the suit is not necessary on a stream. Just now realized that. So I'm gonna go ahead ditch this because it is hot. So apparently COVID is not a threat online. Just realize that. Well, so there we are. Okay, so this is probably a little more normal. We're good now. If only we'd get the stream to go. Can you guys hear me okay for the most part? Everything all right? Can y'all read me loud and clear? That's one thing I want to make sure of. I want to make sure y'all can hear me. That's something I'm getting an audio signal from my end. I just want to make sure y'all could. So if y'all can't hear me, please give me a shout for the most part. Then I can probably work something out here and there. But it looks like we're good. Looks like we're okay. So next question. I bet you guys are wondering right now, why is Mike? If y'all could see it, it looks like everything just keeps dropping in audio here and there. Why is Mike wearing all Giant stuff today? What is the deal? Why does he keep wearing all that? Well, it's very, very, hang on, guys. I'm going to try something real quick because this is kind of starting to annoy me a little bit. Sit tight for one quick second. Let's try something else. I know y'all can still hear me. One quick second. So something's coming in okay? Well, time for plan B, if anything, worst case scenario. I'm going to try one more thing. Let's see if this pops up. Yeah, still nothing. Sorry about that, guys. Alright, time for plan B. Really didn't want to do this today, but oh well, it is what it is. This will probably be a little more. Okay, there we go. Haha. That's a lot better. Looks like it's coming in a lot better. Hang on, let me take a look and see. Looks like we have a little bit of a delay, but I'm gonna go fix that. There we go. So not quite there, but I think we're up and running now. I think it looks a lot better. At least I think so. Okay, cool. So back to it. So I wonder. Well, it kind of does mess up our activity a little bit for the day, but not a big deal. So anyway, so we all are probably thinking, why is Mike wearing Giant stuff today? Well, I'm gonna get straight to the point here. Just gonna get right to it. In case you didn't know, before COVID-19 hit, today was supposed to be opening day in Major League Baseball. Clearly, that did not work out. There goes that. So if you guys are watching, I would love for y'all guys to take just a quick moment of silence for it. Yeah, just one quick moment of silence for baseball. No baseball today. Alrighty then. Yeah, guys, this is a national holiday in my household, and actually most of my friends, we live for this kind of time of year, but things didn't work out. But that actually kind of ties into today's lesson. When things like this, this season really comes and we really get excited for baseball, you always kind of start to think about the previous years. You start thinking about, okay, wait a minute, what went on this year, especially for a Giants fan like me. You really look back at those 2010, 11, 12 years. Or yeah, 2010, 2012, 2014, those were the years where we were just dominating. We were just taking it out, man. It was a good time. We were doing great. Okay, hold on real quick. I'm going to try one thing before I move on with today. I know we're up and running. Forgot to put the notification on. My Wi-Fi is going like really slow right now. So I'm gonna keep talking. This whole thinking about this time of year made me think about probably one of my favorite times. This is way before you guys were probably still kids, back in 2012. This was the year, second World Series the Giants went to. Now that whole playoff run was kind of surreal for me. Like watching it as a kid, I think I was a sophomore, junior in college, something like that. Give me one quick second. We'll try one more thing. So, like I was saying, thinking about it about 8 years ago or something. About 8 or so years. And junior in college, and that playoff run was killing me because round one, I think we got by the skin of our teeth, comeback, and then we go into the divisional, best of 5, and basically, long story short, we ended up losing 2 and then came back. Championship series, facing elimination, and then we ended up going somehow all the way to the World Series. Now, this is where things got crazy for me. This is where it got a little nuts because at that time, the Tigers made it. The Detroit Tigers made it to the World Series. And that whole season leading up to it, the World Series, that whole, after championship series, right before World Series, everyone kept saying, Detroit's gonna take it. It's gonna be Detroit. Get ready. Detroit is doing awesome. Back then, Justin Verlander, everyone knows him. Well, now people kind of know him as a cheater. Back then, people knew him as the pitcher for the Tigers. He had started the All-Star game. He didn't do so well, but he started it. People kept saying, Verlander is the truth. People kept saying, look out for this guy. He's going to do it. They kept saying he is just rocking it. He's having the best year of his life. He is doing amazing. And they just kept talking about him over and over again. Basically, every single sports company, journalist, network, everything said Detroit is going to take it. The Giants don't have anything. And as a fan, you're kind of like, hey, it is what it is. But, I'm a realistic fan, so I'm like, man, Detroit just swept the Yankees in the AL Championship Series. They swept them. I love my Giants, and I believe in them, but it's like, we barely got past every team leading up to it. I remember at one point we were playing the Nationals, barely do it then. I couldn't even remember who the wild card was in. And then we played the Cardinals, barely got by them. Sorry, Blake, I know it's a very sore subject there, but it's true. Y'all actually almost beat us there. It freaked me out. I was like, how are we going to get through? Let me check something, making sure everything's going okay here. Anyway, so I was like, how are we going to get through this? How are we going to get through this World Series? I was really nervous, and then game 1 comes. Verlander's on the mound. They're starting it. I'm like, oh, here we go. Faces in my hands like this. Extremely nervous. Didn't know what to do. First batter comes up. Easy out for Verlander. Just done. So I'm like, okay, there's 1 first inning. And then, next thing you know, second batter comes up. Done. Nothing. Just right there. I want to say it was a strikeout. It's been 8 years. I can't remember exactly. Point was, Verlander dated up these two guys like nothing. Then comes Pablo. Kung Fu Panda himself walks up to the mound, or to the plate, I should say. So here he comes, and now I'm pretty excited every time. But back then, he'd had such a quiet playoff run. I'm like, can we really count on this guy? Can he do it, especially against Justin Verlander, who's had the year of his life right now? Can he do it? Pitch one goes by, Pablo misses. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Pitch two comes by, and I'm like, oh, well, here goes the next one. Don't know how we're going to do it then. But then something insane happened. On that third pitch, Pablo crushes it. That thing goes far. That thing's gone. That thing is out of the park. That thing is just, as you know, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. And, as a fan, you're like, okay, one, little room to breathe. Let's keep this thing up. But I'm just going to sum up this series very, very shortly in the next sentence. After that, after Pablo hit that one, he ended up hitting two more in that game. Two more home runs in that game. So basically when you do the math, that's 3 home runs in game 1 of the World Series. Seeing a home run in a baseball game, I mean, yeah, it's fairly, you don't see them every day. At least one happens every day, but it's not every day. I've been to games where you don't see home runs. It just happens every once in a while. But seeing 3 by the same guy, that is nuts. And they actually had to pull Verlander. He probably had the worst start of his year at game 1 of the World Series, and they had to pull him very early into it. And as a fan, I couldn't believe it. And then, especially, Giants ended up winning that game by a landslide. And the third one, the Giants swept the Tigers when everybody in the country said the Giants cannot do it. The Tigers have that much of a better team. There's no way they'll be able to do it. The Giants pulled it off. They did it. I was stunned. I remember going out with my buddies. They were up 3-0, and by that point, when you're up 3-0, you're fairly confident your team's going to win. And we're going out with buddies. I'm like, I don't know. Like, they're probably not going to sweep because I don't want to get too excited, but they did it. And I was screaming in my room like any fan was. That was the second World Series I got to see my Giants win. Growing up, they just were never that hot. They'd made it but never done it. So they finally done it, and I got to see it twice in 3 years. As that was incredible for me. That was awesome. I was on cloud 9. The whole country didn't believe in the San Francisco Giants that year. They really thought Detroit would do it, and not only did they win, but they swept them. They destroyed them. There's a saying I like to say is that the Panda, the guy who hit 3 home runs, he was the MVP of that World Series, he ate tigers for dinner. That is a very common thing I say. So that kind of is going to go and tie us into our lesson today. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. I had another thing planned. It's going to be strictly online, but the software I had was having trouble connecting, as you guys saw. It was working. It's going to be a kind of little video skit thing, but sorry, we're going to have to cut that today. Better luck next time. We'll go ahead and figure it out, but not a huge thing. It happens. So that's going to go ahead, and we're just going to dive in right into today's lesson. I do have something else planned at the end of it, so we'll get to that. But diving into today's lesson, we just talked about how the whole country didn't believe in the Giants, and they pulled it off. They beat the team that no one expected them to do. Last week, we talked about King Saul, king of Israel, and how he lost favor with God at that point. And at that point, after a lot of prayers, Samuel found a new king. After Saul was incredibly disobedient, he was selfish, he was pushing the blame off to other people, and Samuel ended up finding David. And David was anointed king. But even though he's anointed king, he didn't quite become king yet. He actually went back to being the shepherd, tending to the sheep. Samuel went back to Ramah. They didn't have the big coronation. There was a big celebration. He was anointed, but that was that. So right after that, we're going to sidebar. Have y'all ever kind of been in a point where you can't really focus? Things are bothering you. You can't quite figure, things out. It's affecting your schoolwork. Some of you, I doubt any of you guys have jobs, but social lives here and there. Something in the back of your mind is eating you, and you just cannot focus. Sometimes you may not know what it is. That's exactly what happened to King Saul here. Was something was bothering him. It turns out that after he had lost favor with the Lord sent a harmful spirit to him. It says in 1 Samuel 16, verse 15, and Saul said to him, "Behold, now a harmful spirit of God is tormenting you. Let our Lord know, command your servants, who are you before to seek about a man who is skillful in playing the lyre? When the harmful spirit from God is upon you, he will play the lyre, and you will be well." So basically, to sum it up, Saul's servants realized something's bothering him. He was bothered. He couldn't focus. He couldn't relax. So they said, "You need something to get your mind off this. we will get a man. God will send us a man who will play the lyre. We'll go out and we'll go find someone who will play a musical instrument for you. That's what a lyre is. So every time that this harmful spirit comes upon you, they will play it, and you will be a-okay, not a problem. It'll chase the spirit away. So off they went. Word spread back to Saul that apparently Jesse had a son who was very good at the lyre. Jesse had 9 sons. Take a wild guess which son they were talking about. Take a wild guess. Okay, if you guess David, your answer is correct. So, Saul sent for David. So David sent David with the donkey, and at the service of Saul sent him on his way with the lyre. Turns out that not long after playing the lyre, Saul really liked having David around. He really enjoyed him, so he made David his armor bearer. And that's when he sent a note back to Jesse saying, "Let David remain in my service, for he has found favor in my sight." So just going once to play the lyre while this harmful spirit, Saul really enjoyed having David around, so it stayed. It's like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and keep you where you are because I like having you here. That is that. So, of course, not long after that, the Philistines began to make their move. We all remember who they are. They gathered. They're starting to gather their armies, so Saul gathered his armies. Turns out that David's brothers, sons of Jesse, were also there, so it was very normal for David while he was in service of Saul to go back and forth between the fields. So, of course, David's hanging out with his dad, Jesse, just to say, I need you to go ahead and take some stuff back to the boys who are serving. So, David is doing that. He's gathering wine, food, all these things. And, of course, the Philistines are gathered. Who's the big secret weapon they have? Who's the big guy? Of course, we all know his name. His name is Goliath. Goliath every day stood and taunted Saul and his men every day for 40 days. He was up at the lines just talking a lot of smack, saying, bring someone to face me. Come on, I dare you. None of you have the guts to do it. I am gonna go ahead and destroy whoever comes at me. He was just talking the big game. And of course, it's one thing to go ahead and talk smack, but Goliath was huge. Goliath's a big guy. Basically, let's just imagine. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. I'm a big J.J. Watt fan, so I'm gonna say him. J.J. Watt at the end, except Goliath's bigger than him, talking smack, saying, "I'm gonna destroy you." For those who are NFL fans, J.J. Watt is a big dude who's defense. He is known for wrecking. So we have a giant who's out there. Just imagine the size of him right now. I'm gonna go ahead and have a quick drink real quick. Unlike the Harbor, we do not have sponsors. So that was why there's a koozie there, my San Francisco Giants koozie. Couldn't tell y'all what it was. Just a code, calm down. So, with that, Goliath was a big dude. Scripture actually describes him. It says in chapter 17, verse 6 and 7, it says, Goliath had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And he had bronze armor on his leg, and a javelin bronze slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spears weighed 600 shekels of iron. Big guy. Big guy. So basically all that is Spanish for Goliath is a big guy. Big dude. All of his armor combined, when you do shekels, because I know we don't normally use shekels to combine things, we're looking at around 120 pounds that he's wearing. And his height is estimated to be about 9 feet. Like, I know I'm 5'8", not very tall as it is, but, there's a little above that, which goes taller, around 6 feet. Then there's really tall, which is like 6'5" and up. Goliath was estimated to be 9 feet. 9 feet, wearing armor and weapons, weigh 120 pounds. He's huge. And then we have David. David, who's a kid. Tiny guy. He, in our story, is our San Francisco Giants. He just a tiny little kid, our underdog. So David walks up and he hears all this trash talk from Goliath. And of course, during this time, Goliath is insulting the God of Israel. He is calling him out. And David, hearing this and seeing no one go towards Goliath, he is astounded. He's like, hold on. None of you guys are going to stand up to him? No one's going to do this? No one's going to step up to this man who is insulting our Lord? No one is going to? David is insulted that no one is going to do this. So David steps up to the plate. He says, you know what? I'm going to do it. And of course, everyone tries to talk him out of it. Even King Saul himself says, hold on. You are just a kid. You can't do this. You are a young kid. You still have growing you have to do. There's no way you'll be able to do this. At one point, Saul even tells David, David, how are you going to face this man? How are you going to do it? Like, please explain to me how you're going to face this 9-foot tall giant wearing 120, wearing 120 pounds of armor. How are you going to do it? So David responds in verse 36, 17. Says, your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God. Look at the confidence there. David is standing up for God. David is being like, I got this. Someone's got to do it. I'm going to do it. So after much insistence, after David saying, I have this, I have dealt with bigger, I have dealt with bears, lions, wolves, all of it, I have it. So Saul gave his blessing and let David go fight. But before he does, Saul gives David his sword and his armor, says, I want you to wear this when you fight it. I need you to do this. Here's a problem. We mentioned David's a small guy. The armor didn't fit. So this armor that's meant to do it did not even fit him. And that's where David says in 39, and David strapped his sword over his armor and tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. Then David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not tested this armor. So David put them off and returned them. So not only do they not fit, but he's also claiming that he hasn't even tested them. He's not used to them. So I guess many people could argue maybe if David had the armor beforehand, he could maybe find a way to use it. But he is saying, I don't even have experience with this. Why should I try this? Let's think of the symbolism behind this. So there's the fact that the armor couldn't fit. David wasn't a soldier. I'm just going to say it right now. He wasn't. How is he going to attempt to fight another soldier with weapons he's never used before? I see this a lot, like when I have other friends, who are involved in ministry, youth ministry, worship ministry, something like that. I see guys try to imitate what other people do, hoping it'll work. And of course, that doesn't. That's not how God works. God, of course, I actually reading this today in my quiet time. God does things with very little of our use in there. He makes things happen. We don't need to rely on how other things work. God is going to do the rest of it. And that's another thing David is doing, of course, by renouncing the armor of Saul. He's saying, I do not need it because I have God with me. Of course, that's nothing new. We all knew that, of course. But this is just another example of not relying on man's tools in front of you, on these things, especially another, of course, like I said, you can argue he has the sword, he has the armor, what else do you need? People always say, I don't know why I'm being a little redundant when it comes to this point right here, but David says, I have the armor of God. And so this is where the story gets a little interesting. Of course, David's walking up to challenge him, so he goes right up to his face, and Goliath's offended that of all people to stand up to him, a boy is here, that there is a boy who is going to try to do it. He even calls him a dog. He's like, why are you trying to insult me? I asked for a soldier, and you're sending this kid with a sling and a couple of stones. And that is where David responds. In verse 45, he said, you come with me in a sword and a spear and a javelin, but I come unto you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of armies of Israel, whom you have defied. It says, whom you have defied. He says, I don't need this armor. I don't need this. I have God. That is the biggest weapon against him. That is true. We have talked about it before. When you have God, nothing can stop you. That is the most effective tool you can have. I've seen, of course, like I said, we can talk about people who go out there way more than David did, but don't have God, and they stumble. That's just how it is. God wants to be a part of that. So then the fight starts. Showdown begins. Giant Goliath versus David. I know I'm using my hands, but y'all can't even see that. So this is where it gets funny. Goliath walks towards David to fight. And what does David do? No, he doesn't stand his ground. He runs. He goes, I'm coming at you. He charges towards Goliath. It's one thing to talk about, hey, the Lord of hosts is with me. I got this. And stand your ground. But no, he runs out. He openly shows through action that God is with him. He says, God is with me. And he's shouting and he's going towards it. It's one thing to talk, but he is walking while he is talking. And then we know the end of the story by this point. That's nothing new when he has it. David takes a stone and he slings it. And he kills Goliath with that one hit. That is the underdog story of the century. We have 9-foot tall Goliath wearing over 100 pounds of armor who's been taunting, and not a single soldier will stand up to him, but a shepherd boy, goes up there with a sling and a rock and throws it and wins the fight. He goes up there and wins it, and I've seen people kind of try this. Yeah, slings are hard to use, but those things are not toys. Those things, when you really get a good whiff at it, you're going over 100 miles an hour with that rock, man. That thing,
it's going to knock you out. And David is able to overcome this giant Philistine. And of course, what happens when Goliath falls? He falls and he is killed by David. The Philistine army runs, and Saul's army goes forward after him. And of course, that is how David ends up in Saul's servant, like permanently. David returns, and Saul looks at him and goes, "Who is this young man? Who are you? I need to know. Who is this young man who is now in my service?" So, let's think of everything I just said here. Let's look at God's whole plan that just occurred. Oh man, this is kind of one of those. This goes back to week one. I always mention this every time. Week one, when we first started this whole school year, mission control is here. Talk about God is in control of everything. So God sent this harmful spirit after Saul had lost favor, because without that harmful spirit, the servants would have never said, "Let's go find someone to play the lyre," would have never lent to David. David would have never met Saul at that point, and that means David would have never had any reason to go to Saul when he was in service to him. He would have never had the chance to prove himself in that. All this was God's master plan to set David up on the right path to be a king. Because like I said, he was anointed, but he wasn't quite king yet. God still had work to do. God still had a journey for David to go on. And that is where this plan, of course, the plan was set right then and there, but this is how he got in motion for it. This is just another link in that cog. How he went from a shepherd to being borderline royalty, being in the service of the king of Israel. That is just an example of letting God do things. David could have responded after he was king, he said, or after he was anointed. He could have been like, "Why should I feed these sheep? Why should I do this?" He could have gone up to Saul's face and just been like, "Look at me, I'm the new king. I am anointed at this point." That probably would not have gone well. He could have done it, but he was humble enough, like I said last week, to go back to feeding his sheep. And then immediately after that, he was patient, did what was in service to the king. Even though his king had lost favor, he still served Saul because Saul was the anointed king. And just like that, he is right in there. He's right there. Oh, hey, I just saw Blake's comment. Hey, Blake, how's it going? So, that really does. That's kind of one of those things. And then when you think about, we've been talking about honor. That's the whole service, that's the whole series we talk about, VIP honor. And that is where Saul kind of showed honor to David in this point, because he could have said no. He could have said, "Be gone. You're just a shepherd. You have no business being here. You're not a soldier." But instead, he honored David enough by saying, "You know what? I'm going to give this young man a chance. If he wants to go ahead and face this giant," I'm sure he was probably not quite as blunt as I am, but he was willing to honor David and say, "I will do this. In fact, I will give you honor to do it." And even this whole time while David's asking him, he could have just gone and faced him. He could have just taken the sling, but no, he honors Saul enough to request permission. He says, "Okay, let me go face this giant. Let me go do it." And so David honors Saul by still requesting the king, and the king honors David by saying, "I'm going to give you the chance to do this." This is how we can honor those, by giving them a chance to serve, giving them to do. I've seen it 100 times where people, like, being a volunteer college student, people who you think would have no business doing this kind of thing, what can they offer? They surprise you, and they do great things. I remember there was a point where when I was at my old church years ago, I was not, I definitely wasn't burnt out. No, that's not the term I was going to use. There was a point where we were just having volunteers come over and over and over again, and they just weren't doing anything. So after a while, I got very hesitant of letting volunteers do things because they just were leaving. And finally, we had one who was just on fire as they could be, and it was at a point where our youth pastor had to leave, and then our regular pastor had to leave, second in command had to, so it was kind of down to just me. And there could have been, and then I was like, well, I got this, maybe I should, but then something came up in my schedule. I got called to lead worship for a summer camp. So I had the option of, okay, should I just cancel youth services for the night? Should I do that? But then as volunteer, the same one, after I was very on the edge about it, called me. I was like, "Hey, Mike, I know all y'all got this thing. You have stuff going on. I could lead the youth tonight. It'll be fine. I'm going to go take care of it." So after a lot of thought, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it after I prayed about it. And this kid who went and led became probably one of the best volunteers I've ever seen at that church at the time. She was just on fire. Especially, she did more. She did more in that small fraction of a time than most have been there for a year. Like, she really won the trust of all of us really quickly. That is giving others a chance to serve. That is an example of that. I didn't come up with that. That just kind of reminded me of that as we did this. So as I was telling the story. So that is how another way we can give honor to others first, of course, is to putting them first, giving them chances. that is when we do. That's the best way we could do it, is to give them a chance to serve. I know some of y'all watching, I've been praying for chances. Maybe we can help lead the audio here and there, and I've been trying to let y'all do that. Obviously, things changed. Can't do that right now, but we'll get back to that. This is just a season, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and end in prayer, and we're going to do the last activity for the day. So, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this time together, even though it's social distancing and we're all far away from each other. We're not quite sure how far it's going to go, but God, we thank you that we're blessed enough to have the technology that we can still connect with each other, that we can still talk and organize. God, I thank you so much for that. And I pray that even though it's online, there's a lot of distractions during this period. I know I have a hard time focusing on certain things like this, that we're still engaged enough to want to pursue you. I thank you, God, for that. And I pray for everyone listening that they remember that we can still give chances upon others, especially in this season where there's so much fear and anxiety, and we're just trying so hard to stay connected and do what we have to do while keeping a safe distance and being a good citizen, that we can honor those who want to continue to serve, that want to go above and beyond and be out here. Let me help my neighbors. This is a time where we really do need it, God. I thank you so much for this opportunity. In your glorious name I pray. Amen. So, guys, just a couple real quick things. Obviously, we're not quite close to being done. So, just a couple things real quick. That email that I put up, that email address, fellowship students, we're going to stay. I kind of have a little bit of contest for you guys. Not really a contest, but I want to see what you guys are, obviously we said that last week. I had a couple things here and there, but nothing really to me like I was hoping. But I do have a challenge for you guys. I want to see in our project. That's what I want to see. I've heard from a couple of you guys, y'all been getting a little creative with Legos. That's something I've been hearing. Send me what you guys got. I want to hear what you guys are doing with the Legos in the downtime. I've talked to a lot of y'all's parents during the week. Y'all told me a lot of stuff involving Legos. I want to see some of that. We'll post some of those up on next week's stream during the week. So show me what you guys are doing with the Legos. That is something I'm really, really curious about. So, and then of course, the big thing. This is the big thing. Last week, I put a poll up. I was like, so what challenge y'all going to make me do? What's it going to be? And of course, y'all may or may not have seen it. I haven't posted any results, but here it is. The winner of the challenge I'm going to do is the Extremely Sour Challenge. Right here. Got it right here. This candy is brought to you by our sponsor, my good buddy Blake Whitson. I told him what was going on. I was looking at some things. He goes, no. Get this stuff. Pulled it out of his pantry and said, try this. This is what's going to do it. This is intense, which I call toxic waste. So, here's how this is going to work before we begin. Don't worry, for those of y'all who want to see the spicy challenge, just, kind of give you guys a little bit of peace. Oh, hey, Abby, saw your comment too. So, thank you for that. Give you guys a little bit of peace. I will do the spicy challenge next week. I will do that at the end of it, just because it's like, why not? I have the stuff. So for those of y'all who want to see it, don't worry. It's going to come. I'm going to do that next week. That way everyone gets a go. So here's how it's going to work. This very, very sour candy, apparently. I've actually never had this before. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. 7 pieces of candy. So let's kind of see if I can put all 7 in here. Let's see if I can make this work. I'm a little nervous, I'm not going to lie, because I like sour candy, but this is not something I'm used to doing. There's a line, I like more flavor, so I'm going to go ahead and put this little timer on. Kind of like before. Let's go at least like every 20 seconds. I'm going to put one in, kind of see how this goes. So we have black cherry, lemon, sour apple. If anyone listening, if you have a comment, yeah, we have 3 flavors. Sour apple, black cherry, and lemon. Anyone have one they think I should go with first? I love how suddenly when I say, hey, I'm going to pop these sour candies in my mouth, all of a sudden everybody is going online. So I'm going to do lemon first. Here we go. Just because why not? So I can open the bag. So like I said, this is just week 1. Next week, we're going to do spicy. I kind of have a little game with that one, too, as well. So, like I said, I'm going to put a challenge on every 20 seconds. I'm going to put a new one in. If I can finish all 7. I don't know. This is kind of a little nuts, in my opinion.
Let's see. I'm a little nervous. These like look dangerous. Like we can't even get them out of the bag. Like what is up with this thing? I don't know. Here goes nothing. I guess we're gonna try this thing. Let's see. What the? Oh, okay. It starts quiet. Oh crap. Goodness. Thank you, Abby. Well, they are sour. They are really. Oh my gosh, this thing is growing. This thing is really growing. Okay, here's the second one. Here comes the second one right now. Let's do black cherry. Why not? Oh my gosh, that one is ugly. That one is ugly. Oh my god. Wow. Getting a little hot in here. Getting a little hot in here, guys. Ironically, even though they're really sour, these are tasty. These are really tasty. Thank you, Abby, for the good luck. Let's try another one. I'm curious. These are actually really tasty, but they're really sour. Come there. Oh wow. Oh goodness. Well, how do you kids do this today? How do y'all do this today? This is insane. I don't know. Alright, one more. I can't do it anymore. Okay, well. That was a little... Oh, wow. I'm about to get water. Wow, that is... Thank you for the voice of concerns. That's intense. I can't do anymore. These really are... I'm like sweating from this. That's not even hot, but wow. So, this will be a... I'm trying to finish up, but I cannot find words. I can't even feel my tongue. This isn't even a spicy challenge either. I'm a little afraid for next week now. So I want to thank our sponsor, Blake Woodson, for throwing those at me again. I know he's not watching, but he wasn't kidding when he said those things are rough. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. Appreciate y'all. Love you guys. We're going to do this same time next week. Oh, real quick, before I forget, leave it in the comments if you want to. I'm probably going to be, I know Blake's doing the E-League thing. We're actually starting that. Well, he started a couple weeks ago. He's getting a schedule together. So I'm actually probably going to go ahead and jump on. If you guys want to jump on with me, maybe tomorrow night, sounds like a plan. I'd love to have a game with you guys, maybe Minecraft or something. Give you a shout in the comments if you're up for it. Or, of course, y'all can message me on Facebook. Or get mom and dad to message me on Facebook. Up to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and end it right here and get water and throw this candy away. It's still going after all this time. Gosh. All right. I love you guys. Y'all take it easy. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all next week. God bless, guys.